Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my new or updated patrons, Lee B, Riv, Ken R, and Drew S. Thank you all for choosing to support the channel. First up, a correction from yesterday. I did a terrible job explaining the Model Y becoming the best-selling vehicle, so we need to clarify a few things. First, what Elon actually said. If you go back to the Q1 2021 call, here's the transcript. When it comes to the Model Y, we think the Model Y will be the best-selling car or vehicle of any kind in the world and probably next year. Next year at that time would be 2022. He continued, so I'm not 100% certain next year, but I think it's quite likely. I'd say more likely than not that in 2022, Model Y is the best-selling car or truck of any kind in the world. So this is where I got Elon's initial commentary from. However, what I failed to remember is that Elon updated it, saying on Twitter later, best selling by revenue in 2022, possibly by unit volume in 2023. So with that clarified, the data that I used yesterday for the RAV4 was actually United States sales. So we want to look at global sales, and this is the data for 2021, the best that I could find. So we're gonna take the Toyota Corolla at 985,336 units for the year globally. And scrolling up a touch so you can see at the top 10 cars, this is the #1 selling vehicle. So first, let's have a look at revenue because that was Elon's prediction for 2022, best-selling car by revenue. So if we take the Toyota Corolla doing 985,000 units and multiply by an average sale price of an estimated $25,000, that would be $24.6 billion in annual revenue. So what would have to happen for Elon's prediction to come true this year? Well, if we take that revenue amount of $24.6 billion for the Corolla, divide it by the Model Y average sale price of $60,000, that would mean Tesla needs to sell 411,000 Model Ys or 34,250 per month to break this revenue threshold. And we saw that in January, globally, Tesla sold 32,700 Model Ys, almost on that pace. And just to get it out there for Elon's prediction for next year, 2023, for actual unit volume, let's just say the best-selling vehicle each year globally does about 1 million per year. That's 83,333 per month that the Model Y would have to hit to have a shot at taking that crown. However, for this year, the goal for the Model Y is to be the best-selling car in terms of revenue, which it does indeed have a shot at attaining. So once again, I'm very sorry for the confusion. I hate making mistakes like that. It drove me nuts all last night, so hopefully this clears things up. A quick note on the Berlin water situation. So Alex said on Twitter this morning, he's watched a lot of YouTubers in the States misunderstand and misinterpret the actual situation, making him feel like he needs to make a video. He hasn't uploaded one yet. If he does, I'll be sure to share the summary. And look, Rob just admitted last night he's confused with the situation. I'm confused, so I'm not gonna try to break it down and clarify anything. Everything seems to be on track for deliveries, so let's just wait and see if we get any concrete information or if anything changes. This is Alex's YouTube channel. I will have it linked below. Next up, we get data out of Shanghai for Tesla sales. Now, Gary Black says Tesla sales in China drop. Personally, I think this is rather misleading, so let's get into why. So here's the data for February from the CPCA. 23,200 domestic sales, 33,315 exports, for a total of 56,515 for the month. Now, of course, we have to remember two important things. One, February is a shorter month with 28 days, and two, the Chinese New Year took place during this month. From what I could find, this holiday is typically celebrated over 2 weeks. However, it's usually 1 week where most workers get off of work. And just so you know, there were articles like this citing that some EV battery makers did not give their employees any time off for the Chinese New Year. So no, I'm not saying Tesla was one of those companies. However, for this daily rate, what I did, instead of dividing by 28, I divided by 25 working days, just assuming maybe Tesla was down for 3 days for the Chinese New Year to give us a daily rate of 2,261. This is actually up from January of 1,930. For December, the best month so far, I divided that by 31 for 31 days to get 2,285. So February would actually almost be in line with December's rate for sales per day. Remember, this is delivery data, not production data. And perhaps more importantly, for the first 2 months of the quarter compared to quarter 4, the most recent full quarter that we have, they did 107,250 in the first 2 months of quarter 4. And so far, January and February, the first 2 months of this quarter, they've done 116,360, or up 8.49% for the first 2 months of the quarter. And if you take that daily sales rate for the month of 2,261 times 351 days to allow for 2 weeks of downtime throughout the year, that would give us an annual run rate using February's data of about 793,000 vehicles. So for context, how is the Chinese competition doing? NIO delivered 6,131 cars for the month of February, Li Auto was 8,414, and XPeng was at 6,225. None of which broke the 10,000 unit per month mark. We won't get too far into this, however, the absurdity of it is worth sharing. Mark Andreessen says the plan, ESG funds will invest in defense companies to make the weapons required to fight wars with hostile regimes we buy energy from because ESG funds won't invest in energy companies. Elon adds, ESG rules have been twisted to insanity. ESG is environmental, social, and governance, and I just wanted to share that if you see that term, just know that it's now being thrown around. It's become more of a buzzword and a marketing ploy than anything actually meaningful, so just be careful when you see it. Tesla Adri shares, Tesla sending out emails asking Model Y performance reservation holders in Germany to complete their profile for the black on black Model Y with an estimated delivery date still saying March this year. So this of course is a great sign for the first Berlin-made Model Ys in the coming weeks. And I didn't find any ultimate source, but Tesla Oracle was saying that March 22nd is indeed going to be the delivery event. And although I'm personally not the biggest fan of the Model X styling, you cannot argue with its performance.
Sorry, Jimmy, you can't hang with the SUV.
We got some comments from the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, saying rural to suburban to urban communities can all benefit from the gas savings of driving an EV. So yes, that statement is true, and yes, I enjoy seeing people talk about the benefits of EVs. However, I also think that it just shows how out of touch with reality some of these people really are. The average cost for an EV now is still $56,000, out of reach for most Americans. Part of the disconnect here is that at least a portion of the Tesla community, you know, people that watch these videos and comment and interact on Twitter, they're in the wealthier class, and it's just very easy to forget about the millions of Americans who are looking at spending between $10,000 and $30,000 on a vehicle, not $50,000 to $80,000. And additionally, I'll say it again, but it's the families specifically who are feeling the pain of these increased gas prices the most, who most likely won't be able to afford a $70,000 EV just to then later save on gas prices. And I personally have a lot of successful friends and families that could afford a $70,000 car, but out of principle, they would never spend that much on a vehicle. So for me, it's just frustrating when I see so many people talk about high gas prices and that it's an obvious decision for everybody to go buy an EV. It's like, look, many people would if they could afford it. And I know these people aren't doing it on purpose, but it just comes off a little out of touch. Quick pro tip, if you don't have the new heated wipers, you can actually leave your wipers in wiper service mode if you're expecting freezing temperatures, so they're raised up a bit, so when you defrost the windshield, it will also defrost your wipers. I wanted to add some comments to this nickel price surge. So first, nickel is not just used in EV batteries, but it's one of the primary things that makes steel stainless. Additionally, the cost of nickel has been a concern of Tesla's for years now. We've seen Elon say many times, hey, anybody that can produce nickel and do it sustainably will give you a ton of money. The point is, over the last few years, Tesla has mostly insulated itself from being exposed to these short, quick rises in supply chain costs. How did they do that? Well, first, they've been shifting away from using nickel altogether by implementing the use of LFP battery packs in the standard range vehicles, and this will continue to be the trend moving forward. And there's not a ton of data available publicly on specific deals, but what I could find for Tesla, most of the deals are for 3 to 6 years, which should give Tesla some extra flexibility in times like this. And it might sound counterintuitive, but think about it. Higher nickel prices are going to be more damaging to the competition because Tesla is really one of the only EV companies that has any level of sourcing power due to economies of scale. Simply put, Tesla has more negotiating power than any of these other smaller EV producers. And Tesla has myriad deals for nickel supply, and we won't get into the details, but just one of these that's actually in Minnesota in the United States doing so sustainably, which is cool. Talon Metals is actually good for around $1.75 1.5 million EVs that won nickel contract. So we can have a pretty high level of confidence that Tesla will be the best insulated company from all of these challenges for the aforementioned reasons. Business Insider reporting that Luminar Technologies gave former Tesla lawyer Alan Prescott a comp package worth about $30 million. For context, they said this was similar to what Prescott received while he was at Tesla. And from the 10K, Luminar has hired 2 more lawyers to join the startup's board, so Luminar lawyering up. I guess I'm not really surprised with this one, but a shareholder is now suing Rivian, saying they feel misled over vehicle pricing. The lawsuit was filed Monday by shareholder Charles Cruz, who bought 35 shares of Rivian at $112 a share. The suit is seeking class action status. Maybe it's just because I'm a bit jaded today, but it's hard not to think that Mr. Cruz is feeling a little salty because he's taking a major bath on his Rivian shares so far. No, not to defend Rivian's actions, but to bring a class action lawsuit against what they did. I don't know if they have any legal merit. I guess we'll find out in time. A quick look at our sustainable watch list, mostly in the green, except for 2 Chinese automakers, XPeng and Li, and you can see Blink up 10% right now on the day. Blink was making its rounds as a company to watch for a short squeeze for this month, as from what I pick up, around 42% of shares were being shorted. Here we have Pacific Gas, an electric company, and GM signed a new collaboration to pilot the use of GM EVs as on-demand power sources for homes in PG&E's service area. PG&E and GM are looking to test the pilot's first vehicle-to-home capable EV and charger by summer of 2022, and they're looking to enable power to flow from a charged EV into a customer's home, automatically coordinating between the EV home and PG&E's electric supply. The pilot will include multiple GM EVs. And with this collaboration, they have the goal of opening to larger customer trials by the end of 2022. So in the next few years, it's trending toward Tesla being one of the only companies that is not looking to offer vehicle-to-grid capability. And longer term, I think this technology will be awesome, but for me, I need to see this being used and tested in the real world to see if it's leaning toward gimmick or leaning toward a very viable solution as soon as this year from a company like GM, who still needs to prove themselves in just having an EV drive and do normal EV things. From electric, Gogoro unveiling the world's first ever solid-state swappable EV battery. If you're not familiar, basically here's what this company does.
So the idea is that the customer pays a monthly subscription to access the network. They'll take the battery out, they'll insert the battery into the station. Then the system will identify you, the rider, make sure you've paid your bill, make sure everything's secure. It'll do a diagnostic of the scooter, making sure it works well, and the battery, and it'll give you a charged battery back. So today in Taiwan, we do about 200,000 consumer battery swaps every day, and we've done about 76 million since we launched in 2015. So Wendy can put the seat down, and then she can ride away. In terms of range, this specific scooter, the Gogoro Viva, will get about 70 kilometers on one battery swap. This other Gogoro Smart scooter will get about 150 kilometers per swap.
To be clear, this solid state version is still a prototype. However, it would bump the kilowatt hours to 2.5. And for some context, a typical golf cart is around 2 to 5 kilowatt hours. So 2 of these batteries could now power golf carts and 4-wheel EVs rather than the 2 wheels that Gogoro has been focused on, bikes and scooters. That'll do it for today. Please take a second to like the video if you did. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.